Have you ever reached for a crisp, juicy apple, sliced it up for a snack, and then, just a few minutes later, noticed that the once white flesh has started to turn an unappetizing shade of brown? If your sliced apple looks like it's been left in the sun too long, don't panic, your snack's just doing a science experiment. This is something that happens to almost everyone, whether you're packing a lunch, prepping a fruit salad, or just enjoying a healthy treat at home. But have you ever wondered why this happens? Why do apples and some other fruits turn brown after you cut them? Is it dangerous? Is it still okay to eat? And is there anything you can do to stop it? Well, you're about to find out, because today, we're diving into the fascinating science behind browning apples, and how you can keep your fruit looking fresh and delicious for longer. Let's find out why this everyday kitchen mystery happens. It's not just a random accident or a sign that your apple has gone bad. In fact, it's a natural process that's been happening for as long as apples have existed, and believe it or not, it's actually a sign that your apple is fresh and full of life. So let's peel back the layers and get to the core of the matter. Pun absolutely intended. So here's the scoop. When you slice an apple, you're breaking its skin armor. The apple's skin acts like a protective shield, keeping the inside safe from the outside world. It's kind of like a suit of armor for a medieval knight, or the shell on a turtle. As long as the skin is intact, the inside of the apple is protected from air, bacteria, and other things that could cause it to spoil. But the moment you cut into it with a knife, you're creating an opening. You're exposing the soft, juicy flesh of the apple to the air around it. This is where the magic, or more accurately, the science, begins. This lets oxygen from the air rush in, kind of like opening a door for a curious cat. The oxygen molecules in the air are always looking for something to react with, and when they find the freshly exposed surface of your apple, they get right to work. It's almost as if the apple is taking a deep breath for the first time. But what happens next is where things get really interesting. Inside the apple, there's an enzyme called polyphenol oxidase. Yeah, say that 3 times fast. This enzyme is found in many fruits and vegetables, not just apples. It's a special kind of protein that helps speed up chemical reactions. In the apple, polyphenol oxidase is usually kept separate from oxygen by the apple's skin and cell walls. But when you cut the apple, you break those barriers and the enzyme comes into contact with oxygen for the first time. When oxygen meets this enzyme, they do a little handshake and create brown pigments called melanin. That's right, melanin. You might recognize that word from biology class because it's the same pigment that gives color to your hair, skin, and eyes. In apples, melanin is what causes the flesh to turn brown. The process is called enzymatic browning, and it's a completely natural reaction. It's the apple's way of protecting itself from further damage. The brown pigments actually help seal off the cut surface, slowing down the growth of bacteria and fungi. So, in a way, the apple is trying to heal itself. Yes, the same stuff that colors your skin. Isn't it amazing how nature reuses the same building blocks in so many different ways? Melanin is a powerful pigment, and in apples it's responsible for that familiar brown color you see after slicing. But don't worry, just because your apple has turned brown doesn't mean it's unsafe to eat. In fact, it's still just as nutritious and delicious as it was before. The only thing that's changed is the color, and maybe the texture if it's been sitting out for a while. Some people might turn up their noses at a brown apple slice, but the truth is, it's perfectly fine to eat. The browning is just a cosmetic change. It doesn't mean the apple is rotten or spoiled. In fact, if you taste a brown apple slice, you'll probably notice that it tastes almost exactly the same as a fresh one. The only difference might be a slight change in texture, as the surface can become a bit softer over time. But if you're making apple pie, applesauce, or smoothies, the color doesn't matter at all. But don't worry, brown apples aren't bad, they just look a little tired. Think of it like a person who's had a long day. They might not look as fresh as they did in the morning, but they're still the same on the inside. If you're serving apples to guests or packing them in a lunchbox, you might want to keep them looking crisp and white. Luckily, there are some simple tricks you can use to slow down the browning process and keep your apples looking their best. Want to stop the browning? Squeeze on some lemon juice. This is one of the oldest and most effective tricks in the book. Lemon juice contains vitamin C, also known as ascorbic acid, which acts as a powerful antioxidant. When you sprinkle or brush lemon juice onto your apple slices, the vitamin C reacts with the oxygen before the polyphenol oxidase enzyme can. This blocks the browning reaction and keeps your apples looking fresh and appetizing for much longer. The vitamin C acts like a superhero, blocking oxygen and keeping your apple fresh. It's like putting up a force field around your fruit, protecting it from the effects of the air. You can also use other acidic liquids, like orange juice, pineapple juice, or even a splash of vinegar, to achieve a similar effect. Some people even dip their apple slices in salt water or honey water to slow down browning. Each method works a little differently, but the goal is the same, to keep your apples looking as good as they taste. So, next time your apple browns, just remember, it's science in action, not a snack gone wrong. In fact, you can use this knowledge to impress your friends and family. The next time someone asks why their apple slices are turning brown, you'll be able to explain the whole process, from the moment the knife breaks the skin, to the chemical handshake between oxygen and polyphenol oxidase, all the way to the formation of melanin. You'll be the apple expert in your kitchen. But let's take a closer look at what's happening on a microscopic level. Inside each apple cell there are tiny compartments called vacuoles, which store all sorts of important substances, including polyphenols, the compounds that give apples their flavor and health benefits. The polyphenol oxidase enzyme is stored in a different part of the cell. When you cut the apple, you break open these compartments, allowing the enzyme and the polyphenols to mix together in the presence of oxygen. The enzyme helps convert the polyphenols into quinones, which then react with each other to form melanin, the brown pigment. This whole process happens in just a few minutes, which is why you can see your apple slices changing color right before your eyes. You might be wondering, do all apples brown at the same rate? The answer is no. Some apple varieties like Granny Smith and Honeycrisp are more resistant to browning, while others, like Red Delicious, brown more quickly. This is because different apples have different levels of polyphenol oxidase and polyphenols. Scientists have even developed special apple varieties like the Arctic apple that have been genetically modified to produce less of the browning enzyme. These apples stay white and crisp for hours after being cut, making them perfect for salads and snacks. So the next time you're shopping for apples, you might notice that some varieties are advertised as slow to brown or non-browning. These apples have been specially bred or engineered to stay fresh-looking for longer. But even if you're using regular apples, you can still enjoy them at their best by using a little lemon juice or another acid to keep them looking great. And here's a fun fact. The same browning reaction that happens in apples also occurs in other fruits and vegetables like bananas, pears, potatoes, and even avocados. That's why you might see your guacamole turning brown if you leave it out for too long. The science is the same, enzymatic browning caused by the reaction between oxygen, polyphenol oxidase, and polyphenols. So the tricks you use to keep your apples fresh will work on these foods too. Now you might be wondering if there's any way to completely stop apples from browning. The truth is, unless you keep them in an airtight container or use a chemical preservative, some browning is almost inevitable. But by understanding the science behind it, you can take steps to slow it down and keep your fruit looking and tasting its best. And remember, a little browning is nothing to worry about. It's just a sign that your apple is reacting to the world around it. So, the next time you slice up an apple, take a moment to appreciate the amazing chemistry happening right in your kitchen. From the protective skin, to the powerful enzymes and pigments, every part of the apple is working together to keep it fresh and delicious. And with a little help from you, and maybe a squeeze of lemon juice, you can enjoy your apples at their very best. So, don't let a little browning ruin your snack. Embrace the science, share your new knowledge, and enjoy every bite. After all, apples are one of nature's most amazing creations, full of flavor, nutrition, and a little bit of everyday magic. Thanks for joining us on this tasty science adventure. Now go grab an apple, slice it up, and see the science in action for yourself.